Hey there, good people, it's the Crippled Critic, and this week I'm here to talk about the long-awaited game Final Fantasy XV. Final Fantasy XV is an open-world action RPG for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. In the game, you'll play as Prince Noctis, and as heir to the throne, you're the only one able to bring peace to the world of Eos. But that's just part of the story, really. The other is about you and your three best buds taking you on a lighthearted adventure. You'll get to travel around the world, fighting monsters, meeting new people, and eventually getting to see your childhood friend again, and soon-to-be bride. I talked a little bit about the development of Final Fantasy XV when I covered the demo, but I'll give a brief look at what happened, and a brief look at the series. If you've never heard of Final Fantasy, it's a long-running RPG series dating all the way back to the 80s. This is the 15th title, and it was made by the Japanese company now known as Square Enix. Final Fantasy XV has been in development since 2006, and it's gone through several rewrites and changes over these 10 years. The director, writer, and character designer was originally Tetsuya Nomura, who created the Kingdom Hearts series. After a few years, Tetsuya Nomura stayed on with the team as a creative consultant, and his character designs were still used for the final product, but he was ultimately replaced by director Hajime Tabata, who had previously worked on Final Fantasy Type 0. A lot of things about the game have changed during development since it was first announced. For one, 15 was rebranded in 2012 as it was originally going to be a spin-off of the Final Fantasy XIII universe. It was going to be called Final Fantasy Vs. 13. There were slight character changes, but also big story changes. They had originally planned for Final Fantasy Vs. 13 to be a much darker Final Fantasy game with more blood and gore. This doesn't seem to be the case for the finished product. It seems like they reworked some of those dark themes and put them into another Final Fantasy game instead, Final Fantasy Type 0. Certain gameplay elements were also changed during development. For instance, Final Fantasy XV was not originally going to be an open world game. Also, from certain trailers it seemed like they were going to allow you to play as your three best friends, but this was later dropped in the final game as you can only play as Noctis. Anyway, somewhere along the line, the decision was made to rebrand the game as the next mainline entry in the series. The connection to the Final Fantasy XIII universe was also dropped. So when finally deciding on a theme for Final Fantasy XV, the main concept was, quote, a fantasy based on reality, with the attempt being to try and make a world similar to our Earth, where the places in the world of Eos were based on real-world locations such as the Bahamas and Venice. I personally noticed a more Western approach to this game in particular. Not just the environments, but also the character designs and the cultures in certain areas. Okay, so I guess I should mention that I did already take a look at the demo for Final Fantasy XV last year, and I was pretty pessimistic about what the full game was going to be like.
Are you kidding me? Fuck you, Square Enix. I'll buy the game if I want to. God.
Hey, I have a whole new opinion on it now and a way better microphone. And I can admit I was wrong. This game is really good. But let me explain. I'll start with the controls. Final Fantasy XV has a variety of control options available. For combat, you're given the option to toggle between active mode and something called wait mode during battle. Wait mode is similar to the turn-based style of gameplay where time stands still in between each action, allowing for longer decision-making periods. As far as customizable controls, there are 3 different presets to choose from in the game. From R2 to L1 to the control stick buttons, every one of them can be altered more than one way. The X button is used to jump and interact with people and objects, while the circle button is for attacking and holding it down lets you sprint. I'm serious when I say that utilizing the right control options will make fighting in Final Fantasy XV extremely simple. Although you can perform chain attacks with party members by pressing square, and you can access the item menu using R2, I can guarantee you won't really have to press more than the circle button while you're fighting. During battle, Noctis will automatically lock on to the nearest enemy, and on top of that, you can hold down the circle button to continuously fight any enemy nearby without having to aim him in the right direction. It's just tapping circle like a hack and slash game. This is if you don't want a challenge, which I didn't. Something really great about Final Fantasy 15 is that there's a ton of mini-games to try. It looks like Square Enix really listened to the criticisms people had about Final Fantasy 13 not having any towns to explore or mini-games, because Final Fantasy 15 has a bunch of both. There's chocobo racing, darts, and even fishing. Man, I haven't played a fishing minigame since Zelda Ocarina of Time. I'm not really all that good at fishing, at least as good as I am in real life, but I don't know, it was really fun to play. I think it helped that there was an incentive to collect these fish as they're useful items in the game. Final Fantasy 15 has an updated resting system, so when you make camp, one of your party members named Ignis will make dinner depending on the recipe and ingredients he has. Some of the ingredients include fish. The dinner he prepares can give you good boosts and status effects that can help you in your next time you're battling. Well, when you travel in Final Fantasy 15, you'll be traveling in style. Noctis and his 3 best buds are escorting him on this journey with the kingdom's royal automobile. You'll be driving most places in the game, and you're given the option to manually drive or let one of your party members take the wheel. To allow someone else to drive, all you have to do is choose a location on the map, and you'll be taken there automatically. You can seriously just lay back and watch as your friends chauffeur you wherever you want to go. This is actually really relaxing, and I wish more games would allow you to have one of your party members drive you places. I mean, it might seem like the game is playing itself in this case, but it would just make games less tedious if you have to do a lot of backtracking, and believe me, Final Fantasy 15 has a lot of backtracking. You're also able to fast travel to previous locations using the map menu. Even if you've been exploring the wilderness, using the map you can fast travel to the last place your car was parked. Something strange I noticed is that you have to use the directional pad instead of the left control stick, but only when you're maneuvering through most in-game menus. I haven't played a game that made me do that since the PlayStation 1. Also, if I were to nitpick a little bit, I'd say that I would have liked it if they could have a camera that followed you better and compensated for the direction you were headed in. I had to manually turn the camera in the direction I wanted, and I know they could have made a camera that did that for you. Still, 15 does a great job with the control options, and disabled gamers with fine motor skill impairments will have an easy time. For gamers with hearing impairments, don't worry, because Final Fantasy 15 definitely has subtitles available. The subtitles are large and easily readable with white font. The game even lets you know who's talking, when they're talking, and where they are in the world, just for clarification. While you're exploring the world or during combat, your party members will talk amongst each other in the background. The game makes sure to have subtitles for this dialogue as well. As for the soundtrack, it's pretty boring and bland. Occasionally you'll have epic orchestral pieces, but you won't lose anything if you can't hear the music in the game. Sometimes the music will change to signify a battle, but there's always a visual cue to accompany it. Speaking of visual cues, there are a few good options available to disabled gamers with visual impairments. If you feel like the screen is too cluttered, then you can turn off the HUD whenever you like. You're able to change the view of the over-the-shoulder camera too by moving it closer or farther away from Noctis. When you find yourself in a dark environment, like when the sun goes down in the wild, Noctis and the other party members will turn on their flashlights automatically. Again, I think this is a great feature to have, and I wish more games would do it. Yeah, why make me press a button to use the flashlight when you can do it automatically? There's also a brightness slider you can change in the options menu if you do need more light. So your party members are actually pretty cool. I wouldn't say a lot of the characters are deep, but they aren't too bad. Your main 3 party members, Gladiolus, Prompto, and Ignis, although they have really weird sounding names, they're pretty funny, and their personalities are definitely memorable. Something new that Final Fantasy 15 added was this party banter that happens when you're just walking around. I'm not sure whether it was the English translators or maybe it was in the original Japanese script, but I was happy to hear that the party members have a lot of clever things to say.
Not good to throw daggers in the dark.
Now imagine you were using a gun.
She's out of my league, but we have so much in common.
Who's the lucky imaginary lady?
The main character Noctis, on the other hand, is extremely boring. He rarely brings anything interesting to a conversation when he does decide to talk, and it never seems like he has an opinion on anything either. He could easily be replaced with a lamp and you wouldn't notice. I guess that comes with the territory with blank slate characters that are designed for you to put yourself in their place. But I remember there being a lot better main characters in the Final Fantasy series.
Well, then we can't be sure until we see it with our own eyes.
And that means we go back to Insomnia.
Might not be safe for us there.
Might not be safe for us here.
Turn back.
Yeah.
The story in Final Fantasy XV isn't great, but unlike Final Fantasy XIII, it's at least straightforward. There's 2 warring countries, family betrayals, royalty, all the good stuff. The weird thing is, the story never really feels like it's at all connected to the things you're doing. You'll get updates and you can continue the story if you like, but most of the time you'll be exploring places and doing side quests that have very little to do with what's going on in the main story. This is likely because Final Fantasy XV wasn't originally going to be open world, so this story doesn't really work for this kind of game. I actually think this is a good thing though for this particular game, because the main story never interrupts the fun you're having. 15 does a great job of letting you do whatever you want at your own pace, and I think that's a mark of a good open world game. Another side effect of the change in development you might have noticed is the main cast of characters. They're a little different. They're all dudes. If you're familiar with the Final Fantasy series, you'll know that there usually is a diverse group of men and women in the main cast, but not this time around, and that might be disappointing for some people. But if I'm being honest, as a gay man, I don't really mind it that much.
If you think it'll help.
Oh, no doubt about it. You'll feel like a new man.
So, what are we gonna do exactly?
There's no better way to improve stamina, and no better time to do it than first thing in the morning. Now let's get started.
Damn, he's quick for his size. Yes!
Well done, Noct. Good hustle out there.
Yeah, I know. I'm awesome.
I apologize for that. Seriously though, I'm so surprised that I had so much fun playing Final Fantasy XV. The combat is simple, the side quests are numerous, and the minigames are extremely addicting. Take it from me guys, I had the lowest expectations for Final Fantasy XV, and I think I was wrong. I think you should definitely give it a try. Some people may be disappointed in the story, but for an open world game, you could do a lot worse. Really, the best thing about it is that the accessibility options available allow for disabled gamers of all types to be able to play. And I think for the most part, Square Enix has always done good with that. Alright guys, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you later.